Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to admit. A lot of men have left the church in droves, and it's not because they hate God. Mainline churches are now 66% female, and if you're wondering why you can't find a godly man at church, I'm about to show you exactly what happened. Hey beautiful, my name is Jumoke Win, and if you've been frustrated trying to find marriage-minded Christian men in the church, this video will open your eyes. But before we continue, make sure that you do like, subscribe, and you hit that bell so that you can continue to get more great content. Because by the end, you'll understand why men have abandoned mostly feminized churches and where they're actually building godly masculine community instead. So first, let's start with the facts. Mainline churches are 66% female, and even more so in other communities like Black communities, you might actually have more female congregants. And historically, Christianity, it did appeal to male responsibility, to provision, to protection, to leadership, and men led churches and fostered their masculinity, but modern church culture has blurred the lines and rejected traditional gender roles. So, it could be a woman up there that's teaching. It could be women that's going to mission trips. It could be women that is teaching. There's a lot of blurred lines. And now men come to church and they don't know exactly where they fit in and where to express their own masculinity. And the messaging has really shifted towards emotionalism for a lot of churches. Not all churches, but a lot of churches have moved away from more biblical and sound teachings to more, let's hold hands, feel the spirit moving, let's share our feelings. And if you really listen to modern worship songs, if you just strip Jesus out for a second and all the religious words, it's literally a love song, okay? It's literally, Jesus is my lover, that's my boyfriend, and we walk on the beach hand in hand, and I love him, right? And it works for women, but grown men singing that stuff to the Lord, it just might make them feel uncomfortable when the songs are a little bit too romanticized, right? And men, they want mission-oriented tasks, not just community and vulnerability. That's what we want as women. But men, they don't want to just come and hold hands. They want evangelism. They want correction, conviction, teaching, not simply therapy sessions disguised as Bible studies. Because, again, it's not all churches, but a lot of mainline churches, it's not really dissecting the word and proper exegesis. It's more so of how do I feel? It's more self-centered, and how can I find myself in the word of God? I'm going through this. Hey everyone, I'm going through this. Let's hold hands and pray for so and so. But it's not very gospel and Jesus focused. It's more feelings based. That's just something I've noticed. And here's what I say in most churches. You generally have one pastor that's shepherding hundreds of women with no system to develop male leaders. Again, not all churches, but there's a lot of churches that they have that one charismatic pastor. And it's not bad that you have a good pastor and a good shepherd. It's just that there is no mentorship pipeline. There's no rites of passage from boys to men. Like, Jewish people, they got like their bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. You just have one guy that's just, in a way, hoarding leadership for decades until retirement and then nothing. Sometimes in some churches, the entire church collapses because the main pastor in charge either retired, scandaled, stepped down, whatever. If anything was to happen to that main pastor, there is no one else to fill his place, right? There's no succession plan. And men come in asking, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to just be passive? And they may not see a lot of strong, spiritually mature men in visible leadership roles that they aspire to become. Like I said, it's just the pastor. But if the pastor is so busy shepherding so many different women, and again, not all pastors, not all churches, there are great churches out there. This is just a common trend that you don't really have a strong mentorship amongst the brethren, the church. You don't really have men coming together and really holding men accountable to a higher standard of masculinity. So what do men do? They just find community elsewhere, right? A lot of masculine men, they join sports leagues, political groups, even secular masculine communities that give them purpose, and they respect their need to lead, and they respect and they encourage their masculinity. Because guess what? Muslim communities and Hebrew Israelites, they do not have a recruitment problem. Okay. You want to see the religious men, right? Go there. They don't have, like, you won't have some men, right? You have men even, I've, for some reason, maybe it's just my own personal experience, but when my friends are on the dating market, there are a lot of men that are converting to Islam and are joining Hebrew Israelites. Now, I'm off the dating market. I've been off for a while, but this is something that I've heard, my friends say. And, for those communities, they give men clear roles. They respect their masculine traits and they create space for male leadership. So here's what Christian women usually tell us, my husband and I. They always tell us, because we ask them, why don't you just marry a man in your church? Because women will have this entire laundry list of the type of man that they want. I want a man who's godly. I want a man who reads the Bible. I want a man who goes to church, which is great. That's fair. But if you're already in church, why don't you just marry a brother in your church? He's already discipled. He's already there. What's the problem? Do you know what they all tell us? It's like they all read the same script. I'm not attracted to them. I'm not attracted. I'm not attracted to them. They all say the same thing. And it's not necessarily that these men are ugly, right? Like, subjectively speaking, I mean, I haven't seen them, but I'm just assuming it's not just the looks. I think what women are sensing with the men, because it's not their facial structure, it's not their bone structure. It's they sense that men lack masculine expression, and it creates what we call as women the ick, right? So a lot of men in their churches, they are not strong and confident. They're not running the show. They're not pursuing with intention, pursuing with clarity. They're not strong providers. They're not strong protectors. And that, I think, is what women are sensing, not simply they're all unattractive and bad looking. I think what they're sensing is a lack of masculinity. But when churches are feminized, the issue is that the men who stay, a lot of times they become more feminized as well, because they don't have spaces to express their leadership besides, I'm an usher, right? And not even the head of the usher department. They're just an usher. They might volunteer, but they're usually in the background. They don't have spaces to pursue women confidently because, maybe they weren't taught that. Maybe they think, oh, I just want to respect her. I'm just her friend. They friend zone themselves, things like that. And they can't really find a space to demonstrate the masculine traits that women are hardwired to find attractive, because there's this idea that women only find like godly men, like a man expressing godliness is attractive, and that's not the full picture, right? A woman might say that with her mouth, but that's not exactly what she's looking for. She's not just looking for godliness. She's looking for leadership. She's looking for safety. She's looking for competency, right? Not just simply, you can pray and you go to church, that's great, but everything else is not really being fulfilled, right? So, you just don't see a lot of these men who are still in the church. You don't see them leading with power and wisdom. You don't see them pursuing women because, I alluded to this earlier, but they'll be shamed for it. And then there's gossip, and they become really passive. They're just going to church, they get their Jesus, and they go home, right? But they're not really pushing for initiative. They're not pushing for correction or righteousness. Hey, let's do this. They're not spearheading initiatives and projects at the church. And that passivity is just not attractive to women, who are designed to be led and protected. Okay, so then it creates, this vicious cycle. Masculine men might leave. That might leave more effeminate men, which make women uninterested. And then sometimes those men leave because they can't find a wife, and then everyone is just really unhappy. But here is what we have been talking about for the past 10 minutes. Okay. So what happened to the churches is that we shifted from mission focused to emotion focused ministry. We removed clear male leadership and development and roles. We created more feminine worship styles and that don't really resonate with men. We failed to provide masculine community and purpose for men, and we just lost a lot of men to secular groups that really took our job and they respected their masculine traits. And the results, Christian women can't find masculine, godly men in the church because they're probably building community elsewhere, or they may not see the need to come to a church that does not cater to their own needs. However, my husband and I, we guide women from single to wifey with faith and strategy. Make sure you hit the link in the description box to discover why godly men haven't chosen you yet and how to change that. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.